You're listening to the Soulless Minions of Orthodoxy, alternative DVD commentaries. Hello, my name is Josh. Sitting with me is
Justin.
Today we're going to be watching Starship Troopers. If you'd like to watch this movie with us, go ahead, skip your DVD or Blu-ray up to about 20 seconds. It's just going to be a black screen. It's after the TriStar logo has faded away. And unpause when we do. Here it comes. 3, 2, 1. Unpause. So I was thinking we should do what I call the Verhoeven or Blood trilogy. I know that's not like that's not an official name, but that's
Blood trilogy.
I call it his Blood trilogy. Some people call it, I think, the Dutch trilogy,
Okay,
something like that. But he did RoboCop, Total Recall, and then he did Starship Troopers. And these things aren't related except by theme and excessive violence, I guess you could say, right?
I think you could argue that they all take place in the same universe, just at different times.
This is different times. Okay. So I think we're going to do that. We may not get to them all soon, but we did the Back to the Future trilogy, and I think we had a good time with that. So I think doing movies in pairs or groups like that is actually kind of fun. So
I like it.
We're going to try to do the Verhoeven trilogy. So up next, we may either do Total Recall or RoboCop.
Okay.
But one thing they do share in common is this, the use of the media.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, well, this movie uses propaganda.
Yes.
And Total Recall and RoboCop, it's not as clear, but the media does play a big part in the movie in a way of using it to craft a narrative.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, and I agree that in this movie it's used as a propaganda piece, and I mean it's played for laughs, but that's exactly what it is. And Paul Verhoeven, is one of those guys that, taken at face value, his movies are kind of dumb, schlocky, campy, whatever. But Verhoeven is a very smart guy. And he knows exactly what he's doing, which is why you can look at any of the sequels to any of his movies and they're all trash. Like, he knows this stuff is not goofy by accident. It's not satirical by accident. He knows exactly what he's doing. Over the top, yeah, sure. Campy, absolutely. But he means it to be that way. And there's a very big difference between something that is designed to have camp elements and something that is referencing real world history or real world issues or problems, and something else that just kind of accidentally falls into them, which a lot of the movies like this, or movies that tried to riff this, or the sequels to this, none of them had the intelligence that Verhoeven brought to it, which is why this works. You know, if it wasn't for Verhoeven, you could take this exact script and it probably would have been garbage. But he knows what he's trying to say. He so much of there's plenty of this movie that is outright in your face, but there's other stuff that's a little more subtle. But there's a lot being said in this. I mean, I want to say you and I at one point talked about maybe how everybody in this movie is white and pretty. And just about everyone. And it wasn't until I think we saw the commentary or behind the scenes on it where he says that's on purpose, because that's like German propaganda. And you realize this dude, there's a lot of method to his madness. You know, yes, the dude is all about full frontal fornication and death. No doubt about it. But he's still a smart guy. And his intelligence is in his movies.
I have to admit, though, when I first saw this movie, I think I was maybe 15 or 16 when this movie came out.
Yeah.
And I saw it in the theater. I loved it.
Oh, hell yeah.
But I still love it today, but my reaction to it back then was different. I loved the Verhoeven style of it. I loved the action and you said it was in your face. I loved it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't appreciate the satire, which is something at that age I wasn't very well engrossed in at that time.
Well, you when this came out, you were also pretty young. So
well, yeah, I just
you
said
wouldn't have been schooled in the history that this stuff is riffing, you know.
Right. No, not as engrossed in it. No, but I didn't appreciate satire the way I could appreciate it now, and that exactly what he was trying to do, and that it's not made entirely clear. At first viewing, most people just still to this day will dismiss this movie as just a big dumb action movie.
Oh yeah,
with bugs, and that's it. But when you think about what it is he's actually satirizing, what he's making a commentary on is propaganda movies from the World War II era, and specifically German propaganda and fascism. He grew up in that.
Yeah.
He's from the Netherlands. He lived in the Nazi occupied Netherlands, so he's very familiar with it.
Oh yeah.
And when you look at it through the way it's supposed to, that the acting is supposed to be this, it's supposed to be of a particular type. Everyone's supposed to be bright and sunny and white, happy, and what, you don't think so? Okay. Justin was nodding. He was shaking his head at me like I was saying something weird. But it's supposed to have that look, and it comes off as cheesy.
Yeah.
And people kind of dismissed it offhand as that.
But it's absolutely supposed to.
But it's absolutely supposed to. Yes, but I admired it for its cheesiness. I loved it. I grew up watching Mystery Science Theater, so I loved watching bad movies, like and kind of mocking them in my head a little bit. But then I started to appreciate it for what it was commenting on. And you were actually the one that kept that alive, like, because I kind of threw this movie to saying, oh yeah, it's just kind of this kind of guilty pleasure, this kind of thing. It's the acting's hammy and the story is ridiculous, and you're like, no, actually it's much smarter than that. I think you're looking at it with the wrong lens, and it's all because of Verhoeven.
Right.
And at one point you talked me into, a long time ago when I was taking a class at our local junior college, I was taking a film class. I did a paper on Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh no, don't do it on Spielberg. Do it on or David Fincher. Everyone will do that. Do it on Verhoeven. Somebody nobody would think
something
of.
of Orange, right?
Auteur of Orange.
Right.
And something nobody is ever going to do anything on Verhoeven. I was like, you'll be original. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I actually learned a lot about Paul Verhoeven in his past because of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, what were you grimacing at?
Nothing about what you were saying.
Well, I know it's something about the scene.
No, not the scene at all. Honest to God, I was telling you before we started recording, I swear to God, I think we've done a commentary on this before. I think something may have happened technically and we lost it or something, because I feel like we have talked about this movie scene by scene.
I think we've done podcasts in the past about it, podcasts that we don't have online
I don't
anymore.
know, man. But it doesn't matter. It's not.
I've never done this movie with you before.
I feel like we have, bro. And something happened.
Nope.
And it's gone.
No, I know our history very well, and we've never done it. I can tell you that.
Well,
what do you
we've been
yeah, I know we're not
missing
we're not on the
specific
screen.
stuff here.
We're not on. I know what this movie does, because I watched this last night to refreshen myself, and I noticed that how clever it is with the way it puts you into its world without actually without telling you outright. It's clever, like the way it brings you into to his school, and then in there in the lab. And now we're with
Doogie,
with Neil Patrick Harris, with the mind reading. But the scene, the very first scene is the classroom. Other than the battle scene, is the classroom where you have what's the actor's name? The teacher, Michael Ironside, giving you very important world information. And
that is very obvious exposition, and I never liked that.
I don't think it's that obvious. I mean, because you're supposed to be paying. They want you to trick you into thinking, oh, watch him draw on his futuristic iPad about kissing Denise Richards, while Michael Ironside's talking about violence is the supreme authority from which all other authority is derived.
No, I know, and I know that that's a theme of the movie. But the way when he's asking about being a citizen and all of that, all that stuff is interesting.
Civilian, sure.
But I felt like it was very ham-fisted in the way that it was delivered. Maybe there was a more natural way they could have put it in. But I get what you're saying.
Why did you think it was ham-fisted compared to what we get in the rest of the movie?
I just felt like it was it felt like forced. I felt like exposition. and it didn't feel natural. These are things that people, I don't know, it's just one of those things that when delivering exposition, people that live in that world wouldn't talk like that because they all know those things. It's hard to explain, but God, man, we are skipping over all this shit. Well,
right now we're in the arena football game. So,
and we've been, slammed by so many characters that are relevant to the movie at this point. I've pretty much met everyone, and you get an immediate sense of these characters. None of them are actually in high school. It makes no sense whatsoever.
They were all in their late 20s.
Easily.
Yeah.
And, but who cares? Whatever. Xander, we've just met, totally hitting on Carmen.
Patrick Muldoon.
And Carmen totally hitting on him right back. And right in front of Johnny.
I have a feeling she does this all the time.
All the time. She's a total slut. Not an actual slut. She's a tease.
You might get some people who argue with you on that one.
She's a tease, but she knows what she's doing. She brings them in. She knows what she looks like.
She's
an attention seeker.
Yeah. I think you would agree with me in saying that she is doing this. She's using Johnny Rico. Would you say?
What do you think she's using him for?
Not maliciously using him, but I would say she doesn't love Johnny.
No.
She's stringing him along. Johnny is convenient for where she is now in life.
I would say that is inaccurate.
Once she gets past that, she doesn't need him anymore.
Yeah.
So it's not like she never liked him. She does.
No, I agree.
But he's convenient for high school. And that's fine.
Yeah. I think Johnny sees him married to her and all that. And this part,
his head is in the clouds at this point.
Yeah. And she can't be blamed for this. She's not seeing it that way. And that's not a crime. But she is, like you said, leading him on and all that stuff. And that's too bad.
She's leaving sex kind of dangling, right? Like right in front of him always. And then she finally gives it to him after the prom. But then that's it.
Xander here is just the ultimate douchebag.
Well, he kind of gets redeemed as the story goes along.
Only a little bit. He's still a dick.
Well, from the cutscenes, he was harder to redeem.
Well, I know I've seen those cutscenes, but a very long time ago. But
for all people listening, what are the cutscenes we're talking about?
I don't remember the scenes with him. I remember the scenes with Johnny.
There was cutscenes between him and Carmen aboard the Roger Young, where he's coming on to her and she's kind of slowly starting to submit to him. So their romance is brought to the forefront a little bit more. So it's harder to allow him to be redeemed because he's replacing Johnny and we like Johnny.
Yeah.
And we really hate Carmen even more because she's...
Yeah, I remember a scene where it's certainly implied that they had slept together.
They had slept. It was like the morning after.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're just like, no, God.
Yeah.
You're like, I already don't like you, Carmen, and now you're irredeemable.
This was something that Paul Verhoeven argued with the producers over because he had in the original cut, he had those scenes, and he didn't understand why a woman can't have two lovers. Because he's European, he's weird. Yeah. So because he had the same discussion about why are you actors, you American actors, so uptight about being nude?
Yeah.
So he shot the scene nude with them.
No, I remember. We should talk about that when it comes.
But yeah, he has this different ideal, this approach toward relationship.
I get that.
Well, you could tell he definitely has a different eye. Look at the movies he makes. I mean,
yes,
he has a complete vision that's completely different from.
It's a foreign vision.
Oh yeah.
To us, that is.
To us, yeah. Well, we're with this scene with his parents right here.
Yeah.
And this is, go ahead.
No, I like this, again, it's campy and over the topish, but whatever. I like the idea that Johnny, who's basically a grunt, or becomes one anyway, but he's not the brightest bulb in the pack and all that stuff. He's all heart, he's got good intentions, all that stuff. He's a capable guy. He's just not book smart. But his parents are obviously wealthy. He goes to a kind of a richy area school in, where are they? Buenos Aires, of all places.
Buenos Aires. Which is...
But he wants to go and enlist. And he wants to go there because Carmen's going there. And they're like, what's wrong with you? First of all, you're you have money. You don't need to do this. And he said, but I want to become a citizen. And they're obviously not citizens. And in this world, to become a citizen, and that's something I wish they had spent a little more time maybe explaining, or just don't have it. But to be a citizen, which I assume gives you certain privileges or rights.
Like to have
if you have money, like his family does, obviously it's kind of irrelevant.
Partly it helps you get a license to have children.
Okay,
That's
well, they've got one. They probably
earlier.
paid for it.
It was probably something like that. Yeah.
And so they're like basically telling him, you have money. You don't need to worry about that. And he said, I don't care. I want to follow this path. And they think it's just for a girl. And it is. But I think there's also a part of Johnny that knows he's not going to make it in like a business world or something like that. He's got to find something. He may not be consciously aware of it, but I think he knows. Dizzy Flores here, she's a person of action, and she is, I have no idea what her book smarts are, but she's obviously meant for something other than kind of what this immediate world to them offers. So she's getting out there and she's going to try something. And or actually, I'm sorry, she follows Johnny out there, but she also has, I think, that same thought, similar to Johnny in that sense, which is why I think they click, why they work. Ratchek, I do like Ratchek. I really like him. I just think his dialogue in this early part of the movie is very, it's just not natural. You know,
it's a little stilted.
Figuring things out for yourself is the one of the true freedoms we have. Just
make up your own mind, Rico.
Yeah, just that. Just say, make up your own mind, Rico. You know.
Well, he is giving him very important life advice.
He is. It's just the way that it's delivered. Oh, Carmen, you cheating.
Well,
bitch.
Here's a moment here that I'll never be able to unsee. Watch, if you're watching with us, watch Carmen's mouth. She does this little grimace, like
twitch.
Yeah, there's a little twitch.
Oh, I've seen that for years.
Yeah, like she's like, oh, I was just caught.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's guilty, but not racked with guilt over it. You know, it's almost like, look, God, she just doesn't care. Does not care. This is all just a game to her.
Well, she doesn't know any different. So
no, she doesn't. And I mean, she's smart. It's not like she's playing on her looks. You know, she's an intelligent person, but she just doesn't give a shit. I've never liked Carmen, and I never will, because of how absolutely disrespectful she is to Johnny. Whether or not she intends on a future with him is irrelevant. She is with him, and she's being grossly disrespectful to him. And Johnny is just the sweetest fucking guy, you know. So it's like, to do that to him, it makes her even worse.
I wouldn't call Johnny the sweetest guy. You know, I think that's a bit much.
I think he's a good guy.
I think he's a good guy. Definitely.
But you mentioned the deleted scenes, right? And one of those deleted scenes, he and Carmen are sitting in the courtyard of the school or something, and he like reaches down her shirt and all that. And I think they were very smart to cut that, because it makes Johnny a little too lewd and like kind of like a pig, and you need him to be almost pure. It drives into too much that he just wants sex. Yeah, and you don't want that. You want him to feel a little more good boy. Not to say that he
a little more pure. That's all.
But yeah, just stop being such a dirty horn dog, and you know, don't push her.
Well, I mean, all it took was a little bit of it took a few lines from what's his name, Neil Patrick Harris from Carl. You know, to say to Johnny like, oh yeah, I know what you're thinking. Like I know what you want. Like. Or you just follow her home to fish for a kiss, something like that. That's all we need, really. Like,
yeah.
And
I agree.
That's it. But rewatching this last night, it really drives home how wrong I was when I first watched this movie to think that it was supposed to that they didn't know what they were doing. Like, it's not just Paul Verhoeven, it's Ed Neumeyer.
Sure.
I mean, he wrote this. He wrote RoboCop.
Yeah,
you know, it's
together they have a similar voice.
Yeah, I mean, he knows this dialogue, what it's going to do, and the acting. I mean, look at this. They're all smiling and happy. They don't know what they're going off to. And when I thought about it, you know, it really reminds me of a book called All Quiet on the Western Front. You know that book? Have you read
I
it?
know the title. I have not. read it.
It's been adapted into a movie
Yeah.
a couple of times, but it's basically like if the fascists had made All Quiet on the Western Front. That's kind of what it feels like, because it's a German novel, and it was a German movie, but it takes place from the point of view of this isn't okay. Like, this is bad. War is bad. Fascism is bad. And the guy that basically the Rico of that story at the end is completely broken by the end. And obviously we know how this, oh my God, I love that line. We just talked over that line.
You're cut off.
I used to think, I mean, that line to me is like almost the perfect bad line, because the dad says, if you walk out that door, you are cut off. You understand me? And if then Johnny walks out, it's implied that he's cut off. But the dad, when he sells it by saying, all right, that's it, you are cut off. There's no reason for him to say it. There's no need. But the fact that he does with such exuberance, it sells it. It sells that moment. I love it. I know, I can tell I'm not selling you because you're looking at me.
No,
like
I'm
crazy.
listening.
No, but I thought it was just a beautiful moment because the actor sold it so well. And you don't have to say that. We know he's cut off. The dad is like, I have to reiterate it.
This looks like it was probably filmed in basically the same spot where the recruitment place was.
I think you're right.
Like the
yeah, when they're
design looks
taking
very
the oath.
similar. Yeah.
Oh yeah, redressed or just another portion of it.
Yeah.
And the acting in this scene, because I think people give Casper Van Dien a bad rap.
I think they do too.
Partly because of this movie. He's the protagonist, but he's doing what he was supposed to do. But this scene, it's so obvious she's going to dump him.
Yeah.
Because he's saying like, I've got nothing. You're all I've got. And she's like, oh, well, sorry.
Yeah.
See you later. Bye.
And she knows that he's doing this for her.
Oh yeah. And she just can't say, don't do it. Don't do it for me. She won't do it. And she has to squeeze an I love you out of her right here. And that's all he gets.
Yeah.
And she leaves his poor reflection, in the glass. And that's it.
If she had just had the decency to tell him, we're done. You know, I wish you well, but goodbye.
Yeah.
He would have been heartbroken, but God, let him go. You're just torturing the poor guy at this point.
Well, it's one of the things that makes it so easy to get into, to like him, because he's getting dumped.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't know it, but
who wants to hold my rifle? See, when you watch scenes like this, if you don't know anything about like propaganda, you're not going to get it. You're going to think it's just stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's Ed
Neumeier. Yeah. Come see this guy hanged. All net, all channels.
Yeah. I used to be on the band camp
Yeah.
of trashing Casper Van Dien.
Oh, you were?
Just like everyone else was.
When were you on that
back
wagon?
Like when this came out, and around the time, well, it would have been the time that Sleepy Hollow came out.
Oh, but he was okay in that.
It wasn't. It was basically mostly based on this, where his acting is earnest, but it's obvious he's not the world's greatest actor. But anyway,
but he does play that. He looks like
he does.
Someone the Nazis
would
want.
Absolutely.
Like, he definitely fits the Nazi poster.
Total
look.
A guy that I worked with, a friend of mine at the time, he went to the San Diego Comic-Con, and they had I think Hall H
a
panel. It was supposed to be with Tim Burton, and the whole cast of Sleepy Hollow was going to be a big deal. Tim Burton didn't show up. Nobody showed up except Casper Van Dien. And everyone was like, oh, and all that, because they're like, oh, it's just Casper Van Dien. But apparently he was like such a cool guy. He sat down. He's like, hey, guys, ask me about Tim Burton, whatever. He was totally cool and utterly likable, to the point where everyone's like, shit, we like Casper Van Dien now.
We're not liking him.
Now we like you.
Yeah.
So, my perspective on him had changed because of that.
Well, unfortunately, I think making this movie kind of typecast him.
Sure.
Because I know he got cast in Tarzan at one point, and it wasn't a good adaptation, unfortunately.
I didn't see it.
I did. It was, They didn't have the money, and the script wasn't that good. I can see why they would pick him for Tarzan. I don't think that was a great choice. I don't think. Anyway, but he got put in those kind of meathead roles, I guess, which isn't exactly fair. But and he did end up coming back for Starship Troopers Marauder Part 3.
Yeah, which I never saw.
I did see it. It was okay. Let's just put it that way. Ed Neumeyer, I think, wrote it and directed it.
Oh, really?
And I think so. And was it Jolene Blaylock?
Yeah, I know she was in it.
Yeah, she was fine. It was fine. It didn't have money. And it doesn't have the charm that this movie has.
No.
It still has the same kind of themes. It's just not as well done. But it's all right. I mean, I'm talking about like compared to the second one, which was, I can't even call that a Starship Troopers movie. I
think I saw pieces of it.
Yeah, it was like a horror movie. They had like maybe 3 or 4 uniforms and one CGI bug. It was just
embarrassing.
Yeah, basically.
Sir, I heard it was the best, sir.
It is the best.
Clancy Brown
The man.
and Clancy Brown, like, when does he ever get to play a good guy? He seems like he's often playing antagonist. That's my job you're talking about.
Off the top of my head, I cannot think of him as he's a good guy in this.
But he is an antagonist at first.
He's antagonistic, but he's not the antagonist.
That's true.
Let's talk about this for a second. There's a lot going on here. And
In terms of what?
there's just in this one scene, right? Of the roll call, let's call it, right?
Look at the world building they have, though, with his cast. It's like a blue liquid. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the dynamic between Dizzy and Johnny that's playing out. She shows up. He knows damn well that she is there for him. And he's irritated by that because he feels like he's finally got off on his own and he's got someone from his hometown following him. You have the introduction of all of the what's
Cadets.
No. But what are their ultimate? What's the squad called?
The Roughnecks?
The Roughnecks. You've got all the Roughnecks being introduced. You've got a sense of this guy,
Ace.
Who thinks because he's the biggest guy, he's like the de facto, I'm going to take on the drill sergeant because he said who's strong enough and he
That's
jumps
not Ace.
up.
Ace is Jake Busey.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Ace. Then whoever that guy was, whatever.
Yeah.
You get a sense of him right away. And you kind of like him because he's like cocky. But,
Sir, I think maybe I do, sir.
Yeah, but not like in a jerky way. He just assumes, I can do it.
No.
And he gets whooped. And then Sergeant Zim is very regimented and hardcore and a badass, but you like him kind of a badass. And then you've got Ace Levy being Ace. It's clear he's going to be kind of the comic relief of it, but he's also going to be real quick friends with Johnny. Dizzy is a person of action. She jumps in, bites the drill. So, so much happened right there. You get a sense of all their personalities, everything. And this whole scene, the kind of montage of training and stuff is all great, and I would never lose it. But honestly, everything you actually need was right there. As far as getting to know them, you could have jumped ahead. It wouldn't have been nearly as fun, but you already got a sense of those characters, which I think is a testament to not just the writing, but the acting and the directing. It's damn well done. And it was done naturally. I didn't feel like anything was forced, like some of that early dialogue, like in the school that I was talking about. Zim is literally breaking these people, breaking limbs and all that. But as far as he's concerned, he's teaching them a lesson and it can be healed. Here's that nude scene you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you've got all the actors taking showers. All the guys are strategically placed so you don't see their man bits. But the women, you all see topless. Mm-hmm. And Paul Verhoeven didn't understand why everyone was being such babies about it. And he directed the scene nude. And just to show solidarity and to show it's not a big deal and all of that. Paul Verhoeven must have a big dick. That's why else would you want?
Or maybe it just doesn't bother him.
Maybe it doesn't bother him. I don't know. Maybe you're right.
I'd like we said, like the Europeans just have a different attitude toward that thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot easier to get a license.
I heard that the black girl
Yeah.
and the big meathead guy,
Yeah.
they got married.
They got married, I
in
believe
real life. She blows his brains out in this movie.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hilarious. It's like if you want to show your kids how mom and dad met.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I had heard that.
What do we know that meathead guy from? He's a character guy. We've seen him in lots of different stuff.
I can't recall.
It's an interesting perspective, you know, this world, co-ed showers, co-ed everything.
Yeah.
For us Americans, it seems so strange. Like,
It does. And
So-
but like you said, it's a European thing. But I do like that.
like
and
even co-ed barracks, like how would that even work? Like to me, that just seems like
a
alien.
recipe for disaster.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like how would anything ever get done? Like,
It wouldn't.
Yeah, it's like- why does everyone always feel like they have to show their ass? It's so
I don't know.
yeah.
Who knows? They might even make me squad leader. Uh-oh. We better pack it in.
And why they decided to give Ace, they made him a violin player of all
Yeah, of all
things. It could have been anything. No, violin. Violin.
Bye. Right me.
If they had just made Carmen,
Enter Amy Smart.
yeah, not have that early stuff with Xander where she was clearly being at least mildly unfaithful, you know, you could enjoy her in this. But to me, she's sullied, she's dirty.
Well,
But you and I always dug this scene.
this scene right here?
Yeah.
What do you mean we dug it? What do you
Or at least I know I've talked about it. I'm pretty sure with you. This scene where she's taking off and they fly, you really get a sense of speed.
oh, you mean in terms of the effects?
The effects and like you feel like you're in there, just the way that it's shot.
Oh, it feels like Star Tours.
Yeah, it does. And,
Yeah.
and I've always dug this little sequence. But you know, when she flies into the structure
Oh, like right
and all
here.
this like
yeah.
this, yes, you get a real look. God, I love that.
And this was
behind her.
1997, and this shit still looks good.
Hell yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But I love the shots from behind them. It feels like they were really doing it and just photographed it. You know, I dig it.
I was before we started the commentary, I was watching the previs stuff on
This
the Blu-ray.
thing is huge.
Oh, it goes all the way around the moon.
How in God's name could they have built that?
How did they build the Dyson sphere?
Jesus.
Well, I was watching the previs stuff, and they had this scene, and it's previs, so there's nothing there except the green screen and some lights, and you hear Paul Verhoeven in the background. Okay, now you're going really fast. Okay, now you're turning.
Yeah, I've seen
great.
behind the scenes things with him where he's jumping around.
gets so into it.
energetic, you know, he's just insane.
Yeah, the actors kind of like I've listened to all the commentaries on it, and the actors kind of lovingly kind of mock him a little bit
Sure.
for his energy. Like I remember Dina Meyer saying on set after she had been stabbed with the prongs of the bug,
Yeah.
she's like, "How am I going to scream? I've got holes in my lungs." He's like, "I don't care, just scream." She's like, "Okay."
At some point, you just got to embrace it.
So you think it would have been better had Patrick Muldoon not entered earlier, but now?
For the sake of Carmen's character, maybe. I mean, you can tell, even if we had just met him right now, the way he turns around and he's all smarmy and slimy, I didn't need to
Because
see
you know his
him.
character set this up. He knew damn well she was going to be on this
Oh,
shit.
hell yeah, he knew that.
He knew it was going to be his watch or whatever, his
Yeah.
rotation. Oh, yeah, and we got Sue Ellen Mishke as the captain there.
I know, right? Who's
the
she's
heir
like,
to the O. Henry Corporation.
she's like 6 feet of sexy awesome.
Yeah.
Like she is. I like her, man. She's a good captain. Like just visually, you know, she looks Like,
Well, she's able to give orders even while cut in half.
hell yeah, abandoned ship. Mm-hmm. I remember talking about this with Dad. I think we were watching this with Dad, and this little bit here where she waits to the last possible second to separate those lines. Dad, who had been in the Army, and this is a military service that they're in, said, "Oh, that's it." They'd have pulled her right out of that chair, saying, "You do not play games with $12 million or $1 billion pieces of equipment. That's not funny. Get out of the chair." You know.
Well, she almost runs into the thing right here.
Yeah. Like, this isn't. That's it. You're out. At any point, that could have gone bad.
Yeah, who would say, put her in charge, the one who almost broke the ship.
But look, that shot again where it was banking from behind. It just has such a. God, I love it. It's like Star Tours. That's
sure.
This. I love that. It feels like motion, real motion. You know.
Well, I like the design of
the Roger Young.
Well, yeah, the Roger Young of
all the ships.
The ships, they all have a weight to them, but it
moves slow.
Right, the Roger Young feels like an aircraft carrier, right? So it has that kind of slow lumbering movement. But then you have like the drop ships, which are like helicopters or gliders or airplanes. Or I think they'd be more akin to like gliders from like World War II that dropped troops, like on D-Day.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what the invasion is like. The first invasion on Clondalkin.
Oh yeah,
it's like
D-Day. That was totally D-Day.
Oh, it's D-Day because those drop ships are like the Higgins boat landing on the beach.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And we get our laser tag scene. Or capture the flag.
Yeah.
Red versus blue, which would go on to become, I think, Halo. Halo, isn't that a game where it's red versus blue?
I'm familiar with the name. I've never played it. I have no idea.
I've heard that once.
Man, they're defended. No way in.
It's a clever little setup that Diz and Johnny make a good team.
Hole.
The flip 6-3 hole, whatever that is. Apparently it involves a flip, but what's the 3-hole part? But that they make a good team.
Yeah.
They work well together.
Oh, he's a badass.
Well, yeah. Well, that is something that we didn't bring up during the arena football game. It's set up he can do acrobatics like that, but even in the game, he just makes this huge flip without jumping on anything. He just jumps. It seems inhuman.
Yeah.
So you wonder if are they genetically enhanced or something like that? What is happening?
Well, maybe some people are, just a little.
There's something I wanted to bring your attention to in this scene. I know you can't answer me, Justin, but in this scene, we're back in the barracks after Johnny has just been given the squad. There's a song playing in the background. If anybody knows what this song is, please email us at soullessminions@gmail.com. I've never been able to figure out what it is. But right now, in terms of the story, like Rico is feeling pretty good about himself.
Yeah.
He's carving out a path for himself.
He's on top of the world.
You're on top of the world. I finally got some respect. That's all going to end right now with his Dear John letter.
Yeah.
And
I like how the squad reacts.
Yeah,
they're fucking with him as always, but the second they get a sense of where it's going, they back off.
But it's all in the background. They don't do a close up on anybody. They all just kind of slowly start realizing what's happening, and then they're like, "Ooh,
yeah," and they give him his time
to go.
Yeah.
They must have made you squad leader by now. And if they haven't,
It's unfortunate she has to have this long lead in.
Yeah. Like you think everything's okay.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh yeah, it's so great. Hi, nice to see you. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
I'm dumping you."
that's also the problem. Because I think I'm gonna go career. I want to come.
So she knew. She just said she's going to go career.
Yeah.
She knew she was going to do this.
I don't know if she necessarily knew she was going to go career. I think she wanted to give this a shot. Because, they all signed up like almost on a whim. I don't think she expected to
I don't think
love it.
she didn't sign up on a whim. She knew she wanted to join.
To be a pilot?
She knew she wanted to be a pilot.
Okay.
This was a dream of hers.
Well, She's got a taste of it, and now she knows it's real. She knew there was at the very least a chance that she was going to want to career this thing.
I'll give you that.
That's why she should have just broken up with him. But it wouldn't be dramatic if she did. I understand that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we all know it's coming, but
I like that. I always like this in movies where Johnny's just been broken up with, everyone backed away, and I as an audience member, I enjoy it when there's a moment like this where the clowniest guy in the room gets serious and he sits down and he just has a good old little heart to heart with him.
he's the only one that realizes that he needs someone to listen to him right now.
Yeah, and he build it back up a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's like, I did it for her. And he's like, yeah, but you did this on your own, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, you can kick us around. You're good. You know, and like of all people, it was Ace that said that. And I like that. You know, that makes Ace more than what he appears, you know, and it gives him depth.
Right.
And to his credit, Jake Busey, I believed him, you know? So it's little things like that make this movie infinitely better than its counterparts, you know.
Bad things happen in pairs. And Johnny's about to fail pretty badly.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. They're in this faux battle sequence, and they're fighting fake soldiers. You think they would be fighting bugs? Something that looked like bugs, maybe? Not that?
Yeah, but this is just a generic training thing. I mean, until
What do you think they would want to
Clendathu happened, they didn't know anything about bugs.
Oh, they do. They know about bugs. I mean, in the opening, they talked about the Mormons, you know, getting.
Well, yeah, but
well, it's just something we didn't bring up, that we started this whole fight. Like the humans started everything.
Yeah, no, but I get the sense though the bug thing is a more recent thing. This is probably an old school training facility.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. It's almost funny that he calls for a medic, but it's you're not supposed to laugh.
Rico, did you give the recruit permission to remove his helmet?
Sir, yes, sir. Breckenridge reported a helmet malfunction, and I asked him to show it to me, sir.
You know, I'd heard that this actor who's on Breaking Bad was only 5 years older than Casper Van Dien when they shot this.
No.
That's what I was told. It was on Red Letter Media that he's only a few years older than he was. Yeah.
That can't be right. When was this made?
96, 97.
Okay, and that guy played a cop, one of the cops in Lethal Weapon 2, which was like 87. And he was a grown man. Casper Van Dien is what, in his early 20s here? That can't be right.
It's possible that maybe
10 years apart?
the actor was, you know, in his mid-20s when he did that, and that is in his mid-30s here. It's possible.
But that would put them still a decade apart. If you said all these guys, or you said late 20s,
Yeah.
the actors playing all.
Yeah. This is information that I heard from.
I would
Red Letter
accept
Media,
like 5
so.
years max.
That's what I said. 5 years.
Okay, fine. I don't know, man. He looks so much older than him.
I know that's why they brought it up, because he looks so much older.
Wow.
Like,
How would they even come to know that?
I don't know. I think was it one of them was just curious about how old all the actors were when they did this, because they're clearly not in high school, and he
Right.
stumbled upon that actor's age. I like that moment there because it sometimes all it takes is
A little humanizing moment.
just a moment. It doesn't need to be too much. It doesn't even have to be dialogue, just so you can like a character and like, oh, okay, so he's just playing. He is a drill sergeant, but he does care. So it's not all. He's not
Heartless.
heartless like in Biloxi Blues. It's really hard to like Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
In the end, you can when he gets drunk and then he does push-ups in front of everybody, you kind of start to feel sorry for him. But up until then, he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Basically. But that moment there, it
Where he
was
gives him the little,
yeah.
I don't know what you would call that. The
something to bite down
something
on.
to bite,
yeah.
bite down on, yeah.
You know what I like though is that, you know, this capital punishment, the 10 lashes, you know, it seems so barbaric.
Yeah.
But I do like that it's in there because it is something a society like this would do. But I'm glad, so glad they didn't make it like a laser whip. Like it's just a real
It's just
whip.
a good old-fashioned
good old. It never goes out of style. Just use that. because that wouldn't have dated it. It would dated it so badly if it was
Right.
like that. And now we're back in the Roger Young. These stories that play side by side as she kind of starts to become this renowned pilot, and she gets to show off her skills,
Just getting her space legs.
her space legs. Yeah,
Oh, third watch always seems to last forever.
I don't know.
but you and I have asserted this actually makes her look like a bad pilot because she actually ends up. She's the one who steers them into this asteroid. She changed the ship's course. She said, "Oh, it's more efficient," and he says, "Oh yeah, you're right." And then, oops, they flew into an asteroid.
Well, that I
So-
don't think was my beef. My beef was that they didn't see it until they were right in front of the bloody.
Well,
thing.
that makes no sense. That's a movie thing because they're like, oh, there's a gravity well out there. And then the radar starts bleeping, and then they literally look up, and there's this huge asteroid right in
Yeah.
front of them. They would have seen that coming.
But that's because she's not paying attention. She's flirting with him, and he's
He's
not
flirting with her. I think.
she's flirting with him.
Well, he's coming on to her. So it's
Obviously he is, but
Yeah.
she's responding.
Well, I think she would have steered the ship just fine if had it not been. For
If
him.
he had kept his dick in his pants, they might have seen this thing coming. And it always bugs me when they're flying out of the path of the asteroid. It's coming along, and they do this like 3, 2, 1 fire to like have the ship angle down. You're like, why? Fire now. Like, get out of the way as soon as possible. Why are you waiting for dramatic effect? And you did it so late that you ended up whacking off part of the ship. That's just stupid.
It's a movie thing again. You know, you have to have a little countdown before you do the ignition.
Run a scan.
Yeah, like you're saying, here it is, and then boom.
Well, yeah, it's the camera's going to pan up, and it's going to be right in front of them.
Identified object moving toward us at
She's going to say, "Profile suggests an asteroid, ma'am," and then it's already there.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
I guess you could say like maybe it was out of the light, but I don't see a star illuminating anything.
Right,
So,
Emergency evasion.
See, fire, move.
yeah, why are you waiting? Just go down.
Like steer. They're just sitting there.
Yeah, and I had in the commentary, Verhoeven points out that when that top part of the ship gets clipped off, there was a cut scene. Do you remember this?
No.
There was a cut scene where when that thing gets clipped off, you see a bunch of ship crew get sucked out and
Correction, sir.
blown out. You see them get blown out, and then they close off the compartment. But test screenings, they found that it made her look incompetent because some of the crew was killed. But they end up they do use the shot. It ends up at the end of the movie when the ships get cut in half,
Right.
and they show people getting blown out. So, but I guess it makes sense if you show crew getting killed. The captain complimenting her here doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense.
Right.
Even though she should still be worried that the ship was almost decapitated, like right there.
Well, they didn't notice it till it was so close. I mean, to me, Carmen is a recipe for disaster.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, I would take her out.
infantry will just have to get along without me.
I like the bit that follows here. Johnny he was talking to
Where are we right now?
Johnny's decided to leave. Carmen's dumped him. He's gotten his lashings because of what happened on the thing. He's defeated, and he's running, and that's what Dizzy's telling him. She's like, "What are you doing?" And his parents say, "Come home," and he's like, "All right, fine."
Bill, pick it up. It's Johnny.
But when he leaves the barracks and he starts walking out, you see in the background just a little bit, then a little bit more. Everyone start to run and go towards the screens where they're seeing that they're basically at war. And I just like this how it started to happen behind his back, and then he gets drawn back in. But I just like the visual of that, where it's,
Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in.
I like that.
It was well done.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, sure, it's dark.
Looks like rain. And they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Atmospheric interference. Please try your call again later.
But you know what just happened there? I like that. The dramatic thing. His parents just died. He doesn't know that yet. He's about to find that out. And the fact that his life and Dizzy's, and I mean, late Carl's is, but he doesn't seem to really act like it. But both Dizzy's and Johnny's families are gone. You know,
Right.
Their home is gone. This is all they've got. You know, and that's added character motivation that, on top of good character motivation that was already there. I like that. You know, just more. See, look, they're starting to go. What's going on? You know, and then a couple more people start going, and I like that. It's war. We're going to war.
Well, you know,
His name's Kitten.
he does call him Kitten. I never noticed that before. I thought his name was Keenan.
I never thought about it at all.
I could have sworn I heard him yell Keenan.
Maybe it's a typing error. You know, maybe they thought they.
Actually, no, now that you mention it, Kitten makes sense because in that moment, I'd always thought he had yelled, "Hey, kid." But I'm like, wait a minute, his name is Keaton. I was like, and he knows him. Why would he call him Hey Kid?
Right.
But Kitten seems to make sense, unless it's some kind of nickname that got cut out.
Probably a nickname.
That got cut out of the
Because
final
he's
cut.
like a little guy.
Maybe, yeah, he's one of the shortest dudes.
He's a little
yeah.
kitty cat.
Oh, Johnny, it's us.
Buenos Aires has been wiped off the earth.
I do like the fact that it's never mentioned or explained why they're from Buenos Aires. They'll have Latin names, but they're all white.
Yeah.
It's not talked about. Like, it's fine with me. It makes sense in the context of this universe, I think, in terms of if like European fascism had spread throughout the globe.
Yeah.
I think you can make sense of that. But one of the things they talk about in the behind the scenes and the commentaries is that this is if fascism worked, like if it became the status quo.
This is what it would.
This is what it would
potentially
be like, and it's kind of frightening because it's not. You're not supposed to want to like it, but in this society, it works.
Well, you can like it if you are exactly what these people are, but if you're something else.
What do you mean? What are these people exactly?
They
Explain
are,
that.
for the most part, they are white, relatively decent looking, you know, all those things. If you were.
Well, at this point in the future, unattractive people have been bred out.
Well, maybe so. But
Yeah.
if you, even though the movie doesn't really address this at all, I think by extrapolation, you could argue that in this world, if you in any way oppose the world that they're in, the system, there will be consequences. You know, you'll be lashed. You'll be probably executed. You know, play along. You know, play along, and you'll be all right.
Right.
But if you oppose this fascist system, curtains. You know.
Yeah, if you don't take this message that we're throwing down your throat right now.
Yes, and
Which is frightening because have you ever seen like old Nazi propaganda things?
oh, sure, pieces.
It's just like this. I mean,
Well,
it's
it's
not
supposed to be.
It's not as. I mean, this is a satire, like we've said.
Yeah.
But it's very the feel of it is very similar, and it's
I mean, look at him. He's a fucking Nazi.
they're wearing Nazi uniforms practically.
Yeah.
It's very. It's like, what if that was normal? Like, that's normal. Like to them, that's not out of the ordinary. This is normal for them.
Right.
So that's what makes it interesting. It's like, you know, this mother here that's like thrilled to pieces that her kids are squashing bugs. It makes you want to laugh, but then you realize like what it's really where the inspiration kind of came from. It's like kill the enemy. You know, that's what it is. And
Blindly
the countdown to
do
victory.
it.
You know,
Yeah.
it's those films were like that. Like Goebbels. You know, that's the kind of stuff he pitched to elicit an emotional response from you. You know. To keep the fight going, you know, and
Yeah.
and serving is good, and the military is good, for the benefit of the whole body,
Yeah.
What did you think this running thread of the reporter was necessary? Because we got this guy here that was, which we haven't mentioned, was at the beginning, which was a flashback,
Right.
or flash forward, or whatever.
So he then ends up on Clendathu and all that.
Right, and he's one of the first victims.
No, I suppose it really wasn't necessary. I honestly don't give it any thought when watching it.
Okay. I mean, it could have been any reporter, I suppose.
Yeah. Let's all get cut together.
Let's all get cut together. Now here comes what I've called a controversial scene.
Yeah, you've talked about this.
I actually have made a YouTube video about it.
Yep.
On my YouTube channel. It's called Adam's Real Life, but I call it the most controversial scene in Starship Troopers. Look it up if you want to watch it. But it's all about the song in the background. Mm-hmm. They're playing "Fade Into You" by Mazzy Star, and when I first saw the movie, it was the first time I'd heard it, and I liked the song, but a lot of people pointed out, like, why are they playing a 90s dream pop song in the middle of this sci-fi movie? It seems to make no sense. But I've really grown to, I liked it at first, but I've really grown to really like it. And I actually like this scene. And you know how when you watch something over and over again, you kind of start to get, you start to look at the small things.
Yeah.
Like I'd analyzed this scene, and I really got to like a lot of what Casper Van Dien was doing. The very subtle changes in his face, his expression, as Carmen was talking, basically. And I thought he was doing an understated job, but a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Best in the fleet. I get it. This is the part that's
Do you like this angle, by the way? This angle of Johnny bearing down on her? It's such an aggressive posture, I think.
No, I didn't like it.
Yeah,
because he's most certainly not on top.
He's not. He doesn't have the high ground. So I thought they should have just gone with a flat angle.
God, Xander is such a dick.
You gotta make something of it private.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you know exactly what you did, and you know what you did to this guy. Like, fuck, just let him go. Mm-hmm. You know, like he's got to do this shit because he's a cocky asshole, and then he really starts serving Johnny.
Yeah, and Maisie Star gets turned up in the background.
Yeah, and stupid ass Carmen
she just
doing
watches.
nothing.
Yeah.
All he did was take a knee to the
Carmen
face.
is probably used to guys fighting over her like this.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if Johnny had gotten his hands on him right now.
He would, yeah, you could tell he wanted to take his head off.
Yeah.
Mobile infantry and fleet don't mix. So even in the future, in this fascist society, they have classes like that.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of
funny.
funny.
You got the grunts and then the
officers.
The officers, yeah. God, that hurts.
I think that's cool, though. In the future, just robots do the tattoos. They can't mess up, I guess.
They'll be accurate.
They will literally be identical tattoos. So this scene, I love this scene, this drop scene. The effects and the music and the editing is so freaking good.
Well, I agree completely. I have been meaning to bring up the music.
Basil Polidorus.
Basil Polidorus. I'm a big fan of him. I have a number of his scores. Conan being one of them. I think he is. I don't want to say unappreciated, but I don't think he's recognized as much as
he's a little under the radar.
He did the score for RoboCop. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, those are good. And when he goes balls out, I mean, he's very, very talented. He did the score. Am I not right for Quigley?
He did,
which has a great opening march or theme.
Oh yeah, it's great.
He's very, very good. How he's managed to, and he has. I mean, RoboCop, Troopers. What's the other one? He did the score for Hunt for Red October. I mean, he's done some big.
Oh, you're right. He did do Hunt for Red October.
And all of those movies have great soundtracks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not like he's a really great composer that has just been doing B movies by a fluke. He's doing big blockbusters, and yet no one talks about him. Why?
Well, he has a name that's hard to pronounce, for starters. And I think it's because, well, he's basically going up against people that are so good, like Goldsmith. And
Yeah, but there's only a couple of them.
well, let me, because people don't talk about composers. They just don't.
Yeah, I guess.
But people know John Williams. They know Jerry Goldsmith. But those are heavy hitter names. Then you get James Horner. Then you get, give me another one.
Elliot Goldenthal.
Cliff Edelman. You get the guys that are kind of lower in tier, but still great.
Yeah.
But I'm not talking about lower tier in quality.
No,
but like
I know what you mean.
recognizable. I think it's just that because his scores are not held in the same regard as like a Star Wars score, for example.
Which is a shame.
This scene in the pre-visual comparison is it's kind of funny to watch because they have like those computer animatics, so it looks like stick figures almost, and to see them reacting to like it's not explosions, but like to like cartoon drawings of explosions, and it's like they didn't even have that. They were looking at nothing, but that's what they had at first. I'm sure that's what test screenings first saw. But this was over 20 years ago at this point, and this scene looks incredible.
Oh, it's still,
and most of it is model work. Some of that stuff is CG, but this is basically, like we said, D-Day, and the bug plasma would be, I guess, flak, like enemy flak, and these would be like C-37s, whatever they were called, that dropped paratroopers and gliders. And this scene in the dropship, like I feel like
these are the boats.
Well, yeah, but the way it's cut with the music and the editing, I just feel like I'm in that dropship.
Oh yeah,
and
I mean Verhoeven did this very well. I mean, it feels chaotic, dangerous, scary,
but you feel gung ho. You're like, yeah, let's
go.
Sure.
You get into the vibe, but the second it starts to go bad, you're like, oh shit, we are in so much trouble.
And just subtle notions like that, where they're firing off the flares.
Yeah.
Like it just adds to the chaos.
Oh, it does.
Like you don't even have to know what that is.
Doesn't
but
matter.
Watching battle movies,
It's
you know
just-
that it's flares to light up the battlefield.
Yeah.
But it just adds to the chaos. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And these uniforms became so recognizable because you would see them in other things.
Oh gosh, they showed up in so much.
They made so many of them. These helmets and the gear, like they showed up.
They got reused.
Yeah,
a lot.
for years. Yeah, I think I remember seeing it in like Stargate SG-1 or something like that. At one
Yeah,
point.
I couldn't say for sure.
Now in this moment, I remember laughing a little bit because the bug plasma is coming out of their butt.
Yeah,
So
well, I wonder why they chose to do that.
It's an interesting choice. So, like, why would they do that? I mean, why make something that looks like an anus? You know, like I don't know. Why
Yeah.
make the face of the brain bug look like a vagina? Like, it's an interesting choice.
Yeah, the plasma coming out of their ass biologically, okay, you can reason that, but just like if you're gonna make certain allowances because it's a movie, make one there because that takes you out of it, you know, in a way. And like you said, you laugh at it, and that's not what you should be doing.
And their sergeant is the first one to die, which is
Remember your training.
yeah,
Getting shredded.
yep. Well, this is something we haven't mentioned though yet, which is the book. Do you know much about the book?
Robert Heinlein wrote it. It wasn't called. Was it called? It wasn't called Starship Troopers.
It was.
Were there sequel books?
I don't think so. I don't believe so. I think there was just the one novel.
Okay. Well, I know that there was an animated show,
Called Roughnecks.
Roughnecks, and I remember hearing that it adhered a little more to what the book really was.
A little bit. They were supposed to have, which was a big part of the novel, they were supposed to have these like mech bodysuits, like in
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow, but the technology wasn't there yet.
Right.
Edge of Tomorrow made it look, those things were badass.
Oh,
That
yeah.
thing made it work. But yeah, they didn't have the tech back then, so they just took it out. But the book, the book isn't so much it's pretty much a straightforward militaristic type of novel from what I hear. I have not read it, but they borrow the title, the names of the characters. They are a civilization in the future, a fascist civilization fighting giant bugs. That's pretty much all it has in common with it. They pretty much borrowed those elements. That's it. Because I'd heard that Paul Verhoeven tried reading the book, but he hated it. It was boring. So he just read like the first few chapters and had somebody like read him a synopsis because he couldn't take it. But he was like, yeah, I think he just wanted to do his own thing. So he borrowed some elements of it. So I wouldn't call it an adaptation, really. It's more of like they just kind of took the name, more or less, and some elements. But pretty much it's their story. Oh, because I'd heard that it didn't. It started off as an original script called Bug Hunt at Outpost 9. Like it was a spec script.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And they sold their spec script, and then they ended up getting the rights to Starship Troopers because they found out that the rights were available. So they just kind of melded the two things together.
Okay.
And so now in the movie's continuity, we've caught up to where it started. The cameraman, the reporter just got cut in half.
Right. And Johnny's going to get taken out shortly.
So, watching this for the first time, we don't know how Johnny, if he lives or not. We know he's the protagonist, so we expect him to, but we had thought that maybe he had died. So we don't know how he's supposed to live through this. And it always kind of sucks to see Kitten go. That's too bad. Because all of those guys from boot camp just got killed.
Well, most of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Dizzy, Ace, and Johnny.
Dizzy's still alive.
Yeah, are the three that survive, right?
Well, Dizzy dies, but...
No, I meant this encounter.
That survived Clandathu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you really think I don't know Dizzy dies later?
Well, the way you just phrased it, it sounded like you weren't sure. Well, when we sat down, you thought that we had done a commentary on this before.
I still think we have. I honestly do.
What do you think of their choice here to use old-style ammunition? Well, it'd be modern ammunition, with grenade launchers and bullets as opposed to like a laser gun or something like that.
I like it. It makes it a little more visceral. And I don't think that's an accident. I think it probably would have been very easy. And I'm sure the studio's probably like, hey, put in them flashing lights. People like that, But Verhoeven being Verhoeven, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one that said, no. It feels more real. We can relate more to it. We know what a bullet does, We know what a grenade does, we need to see that.
And it would
it's a future grenade, but it's a grenade. And they're shooting bullets. They might be amped up bullets, but they're still bullets, so.
We can ill afford another Clandathu.
I like this one.
Well, I love all of these bits. This is classic Verhoeven. The way he would just show the media was clearly tainted by his upbringing. And sadly, it's kind of reminiscent of a lot of media today.
Oh, it absolutely is.
But yeah, you'll get shows like this too, where you got panelists, an opinion-based show. Yeah. I think that guy got the job by the way he delivered that line.
Oh, absolutely. I can't take my eyes off of him when he does it. You just want to punch him in his stupid face.
Yeah.
I love it.
This is Starbase Ticonderoga. Ticonderoga, which is a famous fort. Ticonderoga, I think from like the Civil War.
Is that what it is?
I think so, yeah. But it's a name that's been passed down in military history. It gets used a lot.
I remember it was in, what's the Western with... It's all right, everybody. He knows.
Rustler's Rhapsody?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think, I think his ranch was called the
Ticonderoga.
Something like that, yeah.
All these ships are just beat the hell up. They made it back home, but they're trashed.
Oh, yeah, they limped back home, but yeah. And right now they're in what I guess would be a field hospital.
Yeah, basically.
but yet they have a casualty list already. I found that kind of incredible that they would already have a list of the dead. That takes a little while to come up with.
I suppose it does.
But it kind of shows where their future technology has gone, where you have a searchable database for your friend that may have died or not, like showing that maybe this happens a lot.
Yeah.
So right there, that moment though with Patrick Muldoon when he's looking at the screen, Johnny Rico has just died. That helps a little bit. Helps humanize him a little bit.
Too little, too late for me.
I didn't say it was enough. I'm just saying a little. Right now we're, I guess this would be not this scene. The scene right after this, I think, is where the second act officially starts. Wouldn't you say?
This scene or the scene after?
The scene right after this is where the second act officially starts. It's when we cut to exterior ship shot, then we go to the Roughnecks, where we meet Ironside again.
Well, let me see.
Okay.
So you think this is the end of Act 1?
I guess because of the change, it feels like a real change, and there's a cue in music. It just feels like we're shifting to a different act. Here it comes.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Okay. But in that scene, Johnny was in something like what we've seen in Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm. Like a back to tank.
Yeah, like a back to tank. He was working on his leg, but he was fully submerged.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You don't think about it until you think about it. Like, why does he need to be fully submerged for that? It's just his leg, right?
Maybe it all seeps into his pores and
Maybe.
helps rejuvenate him.
Now, that guy, Watkins, the black guy,
Mm-hmm.
he showed up in a lot of things in the mid to late 90s.
Did he?
Yeah, I remember he was in Courage Under Fire. He was one of the crew on the helicopter. And I think that's probably what helped him get this part, was that he was in a kind of a combat movie.
Right.
He was good. I mean, to show like this different, when you see these actors in different parts, you can see how the style of acting is different in this movie as compared to something else. Kind of like when you watch like Star Wars, like the original.
Yeah.
Or even the prequels, you'll see the acting from these actors, and you're like, "What's this?" And then you watch, Natalie Portman in something else, and you're like, "Oh, okay, I get it."
Right.
So, I like that look.
Just for all you new people.
I like the way he pokes him. He's like, "I'm not cutting you any break just because you were a student." So right now we are what I like to think of officially starting the second act.
At ease, listen up. Got a new sky marshal and a new battle plan. Gonna clean out the system's outlying Clendathu one planet at a time.
We got Rico's Roughnecks here. And I kind of like that they brought back Michael Ironside in this society that where everyone serves, basically. And all of the adults, as Red Letter Media has pointed out, all of the adults that have served are injured in some way, or they've lost a limb. Like earlier in the movie, we had seen that one of the recruiters had no legs and one arm. Like he said, the mobile infantry made me the man I am today. And you see this look on Johnny's face like, oh shit, what have I just gotten myself into? So we just had our first major set piece, which was Clendathu, our first major action set piece. And when I first saw this movie, it was in the theater. I think like I said at the top, I was either 15 or 16. And this movie blew me away with its effects and its action sequences. And I think it's because the movie it feels like it has such a visceral feeling. It's such a visceral experience, the way the action affects you. And that all comes down to performance, but it also comes down to things like editing and music, direction. And I think that's something Paul Verhoeven does very well. I mean, look at Total Recall, look at RoboCop, the other two movies in his trilogy that we're going to be looking at eventually. They all have that kind of feeling, but this one especially, which brings me to another point. As we're watching this lone bug get blown up, I think this movie is probably, of that trilogy, like the least cerebral. I think it asks the least amount of questions. It definitely has themes, and it's definitely a satire and a commentary on fascism. But I don't think it makes you think as much as something like RoboCop or Total Recall. Total Recall was exploring memory and identity. What makes a person a person? Is it their memories or their environment? It really asks some important existential questions, the way that also RoboCop had done. Is this cyborg more machine than man, or vice versa? Can he get his humanity back? This movie, not so much. It's not a deep thinker, but it still asks some important questions. And going back to that fascism story, because I compared it to All Quiet on the Western Front, but being from the fascist point of view, Johnny is like that protagonist from All Quiet on the Western Front. But unlike that protagonist, he pretty much stays positive throughout the whole story. What we're going to see here, when the black woman gets her arm melted off, he gets promoted because of it, and he's happy about it. And then in another scene, somebody else dies, he gets another promotion, and he's happy about it. And I think if I were to change anything in this movie, it would be Johnny's perspective. I wish they would add a little bit of apprehension. And it doesn't have to be with dialogue. All it would take is a few moments of apprehension in the acting when he is encountering these things. Just like in that moment when he encountered the guy at the recruiting office, Justin, that was missing his limbs.
Yeah.
And he had that look on his face like, oh shit, this isn't good. If he had paused for a moment when he was suddenly promoted because of somebody was killed, and he would stop to think, like, maybe if he smiled at first, but then stopped to think, like, oh, maybe this isn't good. And then just kept going on, like, and then that continues till the very end. But by the very end, he's just completely brainwashed, where he just like, all right, apes, you want to live forever? I think to show like the death of his identity as an individual, because you see that in the classroom where Michael Ironside is saying, but do you understand it? Do you believe it? Are you going to be a good young fascist? And he says, I don't know. So I think that uncertainty, I think they could have drilled that into us more, that by the end of the movie, he has been completely taken in by the society. He's just another peg that fits in,
I get what you're saying, and I think that's interesting. I honestly don't know if they should have pushed it that far. As a concept, I mean, like on paper, I think that probably would have been a really great way to go. But to see Johnny be essentially brainwashed or to become a company man, a man of the state, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's, as an audience member, if that's what I want to see Johnny be, And I mean, I think he does become that, but I don't think but because he's military, I think and he's kind of a grunt within even though he keeps getting promoted and all that, he's still mobile infantry, and I think it's kind of a world unto itself, even though they're doing the bidding of the state and all of that. They're the soldiers, they're the Nazi soldiers. I don't think he sees any of it that way. I don't think, at least not in the context of this movie. I remember clips or a piece of the third one that I saw where it's kind of pushing more of that whole Nazi-esque attitude of things. And I honestly don't know where it goes or anything like that. But in this particular movie, it doesn't seem necessary or something that would benefit the movie to show Johnny get sucked into. That's just my thought. I think Johnny should be. I do think he's sucked into it, but I think he's unaware of it. So to make it more of a thing would be to, in a way, take away from his character. That's just my thought.
He always had this little smile. Yeah, well, he don't smile much anymore. Yeah, well, I guess your bottle fills up real quickly.
If the second act started where you think it did, where do you think the second act ends?
Oh, I'm glad you asked because I do have an answer. Because I've seen this movie many times and listened to it many times. This is one of our movies that we put the audio.
Right.
But I think the second act begins with the Roughnecks, and the second act ends right after Dizzy dies. Her funeral starts the third act.
Okay.
Never pass up a good thing.
He's always there to give him the right advice. Imagine this scene without the music, because that's what's actually happening.
Doesn't the music sound kind of like in my head, like the music in Back to the Future? Dun, dun, dun.
It's a little like this. It's more like. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But imagine them dancing to nothing, because that's what they're doing.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I always find that really funny. Like when I watch a movie and it's a big crowd scene and there's a dance going on, I always imagine in my mind that they're actually not moving to anything. They're just
faking it.
They're just faking it. And I'm like, that's what I'm actually seeing right now. Always makes me laugh. I guess when you're a professional actor, you get used to that kind of thing, the
sure.
pantomiming thing.
Yeah.
But to an outsider, it would seem a bit weird on set, I guess.
God, Dizzy is so much the better girl than Carmen.
I guess that's the tragedy of it all,
in
because
every measurable
because
way.
we know that. We know that Johnny doesn't, because he's so obsessed with Carmen.
Yeah. Even after this, it's not.
Well,
he misses Dizzy because she's a friend, but he doesn't love her.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. I think had Dizzy lived, I think it would have been different. I think he would have grown to love her, I think. But he just didn't get. He's not over Carmen yet, so he can't. Not. When she tells him that she loves him, he can't say it back yet because it's not true.
Yeah,
he doesn't love her. But Carmen was able to fake it at the beginning of the movie. He won't do it.
No, nor should he.
Nor should he. And he just smiles instead. It happens right here. But I think given time, I think the feelings would have come, I think.
Oh, I think so. I think, and very soon at that, I think he totally, likes Dizzy. I don't mean likes her. I just mean, I think he really enjoys her, and she's a kindred spirit. And I think once,
she's definitely a kindred spirit, much more than Denise Richards.
Oh, totally.
Was.
And I think as soon as he was able to let go of Carmen, then he would have, his eyes, it would have been just like seeing daylight. He'd have been like, oh my God, you've been here the whole time? How did I not see that? And it would have been genuine, Well, how much did he give her? 20 minutes?
20 minutes.
I'm like, Sarge, what am I going to do? Or the other 17 minutes and 30 seconds?
We'll even have time to cuddle afterwards. Yeah.
Great. We have time for foreplay also. But that was cool. That was cool. Hey, Rico, go ahead.
Go ahead. Have some fun. Well, he said, I expect the best and I give the best.
Well,
so there you go.
They did get orders to ship out, but he's like, I'll let you kids have a few minutes. If he didn't know them, maybe he wouldn't have, but
maybe
he's known since their high school days, which really was not all that long ago, that that Dizzy was into him and that this is a deal for them to come together. He knows. He's letting him have it, which is cool. For me, this is where the movie slows.
Okay. I was going to say that doesn't happen until the third act. I think on repeated viewings, I think parts in the second act do drag a little bit.
For me, the movie has a great pace until literally the start of this scene. And things slow down for me.
Okay.
I think it's because there's nothing new.
No, they're just on patrol. So
It's status quo.
they're just kind of waiting for something to happen. It's
Yeah.
like they're waiting to run into more story. Or just waiting for the action scene. And we're just along for the ride. That's kind of what it feels like.
It's exactly what it feels like. And that's why I'm like, ooh, yawn.
Now, I think some tightening of the editing would have helped. Because one thing I will say about this movie is that it's too long.
I agree. It's 2 hours plus, right?
That's what the credits are 10 minutes long because there's so many visual people they had to credit, but so many effects guys, I mean. But I think this movie could use a trim, and I'd say maybe about 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that would be, I think the first act is solid. I think I don't think you need to touch it. I think definitely the second act and the third act need some trimming. I think it goes on too long.
I agree. I think that the action there's not enough variety in the action to justify it.
Although, as I was saying, because Justin had gotten up for a little bit earlier, I was talking about the visceral feeling this movie gives, and from its action. The first time I saw it, even the second time I saw it, the action scenes had that effect on me. They were that well done. Even on this scene, which tends to get a little repetitive with its action, but it gets into your gut. And that's something Verhoeven does really well. And, but I think on repeated viewing, I think you're right. I think it goes on too long. Like the Clendathu scene has enough variety in it.
Yes.
And
it's the first time you've seen it.
It's enough suspense.
Yes.
At this point, we know what the bugs look like, so it's no surprise.
We know what they fight like.
Yeah. And it's all in broad daylight, so it's not, you see everything, so it's not as mysterious either.
Yeah, maybe that. Well, they couldn't do night again because that's what Clendathu was. But maybe this could have been like an early morning thing with like
a dawn
type feel and light.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
And maybe
the rising sun overhead is. Yeah, I like that. It would be cool.
Yeah. They know where they're going, and they approach it with some trepidation and all that. But God, the way it opens with them, because they're not on patrol, they're on a mission. They're coming here. It sets a tone and kind of a stillness that, for me, it was hard to kind of recover from. When they get here and they start kind of uncovering things, it starts to pick up a little bit.
Well, here it gets a little more interesting, like what happened to the base. Why has this guy's head been sucked out?
Yeah, and I think,
why is this guy hiding? Yeah,
you have a large part of the opening act, actually almost the entirety of the opening act, which is all gusto and patriotism and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then start the second act, and things are a little more tempered now. Now they've been to Clendathu and they realize, shit, this is real, and things take on a little more somber sort of tone. And things slow down, and they need to, because they've reached this kind of epic pace and moment. They have the party, like that they just did, where him and Dizzy get together, all that stuff. But maybe this, and they are doing it. I realize this scene is supposed to be adding mystery and all that, but maybe they should have worked harder to have this section of the movie. I mean, they're going to go straight into action again right now, when the bugs attack. Maybe there should have been, some of that extra screen time should have been taken away from some of the action in the third act and given here to give a little bit more the mystery of selling that there's much more to these bugs than what we know, and have them slowly uncovering things. Have it be more like Aliens, when they first are entering it and everything's all fucking creepy and weird and dripping, and they're like, God, what the hell are we in? You
make a good point there, because even after in Aliens, even after the first encounter with the aliens, we're still wholly engaged in that story. Like, it doesn't slow down, really.
It doesn't get slowed down. Aliens does get a little repetitive.
It's not as fast paced as people think it is.
No, it's not.
But it doesn't. I don't think it drags as much as this movie does in the beginning of this second act.
Yeah. Now this would have been okay if there had been maybe a little bit different build up to it. I think we haven't had enough time to build. Like when we get to Clendathu, the suspense was built, the tension was built. But coming into this, that scene of the mystery of what the bugs are and what they're capable of, or what other capabilities they have, where they were just touching on it, and I think the movie needed a little more depth at that point, especially when it gets more realized in the third act. I realized this was a time for some more action, but at this point, it's just more of the same. I think we needed something different.
Well, speaking of different, they introduced the aerial bugs,
the flying bugs.
Well, we did see it. We were teased earlier, but now we get to see them in action.
Now I don't know what the difference could have been, but something.
Well, I agree with you, and I think playing up
maybe if the whole sequence
mystery
should have been an air thing. Maybe that would have
an aerial fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have shaken it up. Maybe they could have immediately realized they were totally fucked and had those Xander and all those ships come in and have the bulk of this action scene actually be in the air, getting from the ground to the Roger Young.
Maybe.
And that would have actually given a little more capability to the pilot part of it, the aerial stuff. Because it seems like all the grunts win the war, but the guys in space and the flyers do stuff too, but we don't really get to see them do any of that. Maybe there should have been, maybe that would have been a way to shake it up and make it a little different. Show a little more of what Carmen's capable of. Even Xander, who's a dick, that he's capable.
Well, for 1997 CG, these bugs still look pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
But you had mentioned like the mystery, and a moment that passes by when they were entering into the outpost here. It passes by so quickly you might not think about it. And I never thought about it until I listened to the commentary. And this is when Rika was walking into like the mess hall, and he lifts up something and he sees a bug. Like it's what's called a chariot bug. It's like a small, looks like a beetle or something. Mm-hmm. And he looks at it quizzically, and then that's it. The moment's over. He looks at it thinking like, well, what is this? And then he just walks away. It's never brought what it is, but it goes into that mystery of why was this guy's brain sucked out?
Yeah.
What is their plan here? Like what happened here? But they don't explore it. And that inherently is a little bit more interesting than all of this, than the action going on for so long. Mm-hmm. Not that this is bad.
No, it's not bad.
But those chariot bugs basically are the bugs that carry the brain bug around. Mm-hmm. But then that's never really brought attention to, even in the end. Like you see it, but it's not really shown very well. Like this is what those bugs are for.
Right.
But that's what they're for. And if there was a better connection between those two things, then that moment would have made much more sense.
Yeah.
But it's not really shown. And I think probably some of that ended up on the cutting room floor. Like, I think they were trying to quicken the pace, and they sacrificed that for the action.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Because, I mean, we know from the earlier stuff in the movie that Verhoeven can establish tension and fear and all of that.
I love this moment of Ratchek. Mm-hmm. It's set up, paid off here.
Yeah.
You know what to do, and he does it.
Yeah. Takes a sweet fucking time doing it, though.
Well, he had to hesitate. See, that's what I mean. It shows Johnny hesitating over choices like that, but not enough.
Right.
I'd like to see him thinking more and battling his conscience more. He's a man of his word, though,
Yeah. he died by the code that he preached.
Yep,
You know,
definitely.
God, I hated to see Dizzy go. Man.
I know it's rough. I mean, at least she gets to do something cool right before she dies.
Yeah,
But I think people are still pissed off to this day that Dizzy was the one who was killed. Nobody wanted her to die. Yeah, and she dies in slow-mo too. Rough. So how are you starting to feel with how I explained about the act structure? Does it feel those are the right moments to break for the act?
yeah, I suppose so. That's where the tone shifts.
Okay.
I think she'd have been dead already. She would have bled out from all of that
Of
that
course.
giant hole that he just produced.
Well, yeah, but we're not watching this movie for realism, are we? I mean,
No, I dare say we're not.
you know, one thing I wanted to bring up, which I had forgotten about, is the color of the blood. Why do you think they chose to go with green?
Is it green?
The bug blood
That
is
was like orange.
Well, the flamer bugs, the tanker bugs,
Uh-huh.
are orange, have orange blood, but the soldier bugs have green blood. Why give them? Why not make it red? Wouldn't that make it more? Make it feel a little bit more like Carnage if it was red blood. Think about it. Think about that scene when Watkins is shooting the bug in the eye. You know, you fucking sack of maggot puke, and the blood splattering on his face. It's green.
Yeah.
And it almost seems kind of comical because it's green. Like it's slime from, you know, you can't do that on television.
Right.
But if it was red spraying in his face, I think that would have had a different feeling. Don't you think?
Yes, maybe though the choice to do that was so that there went because this movie is so gruesome and bloody that, like, for example, when they arrive at where are they leaving? What's this place called?
Just the outpost.
God, it has a name though. Whatever. Well, when they arrive at the outpost and there's
Whiskey outpost. Is that it?
I don't think so. And there's all those
Okay.
bloody dead bodies and all that stuff. If we know that the alien blood is also red, you might be inclined to think that, oh, maybe that's alien blood. It was a bloodbath and all that. You know, they killed each other and all that. But because we know that their blood is a different color, and this is only human death, you know,
The contrast makes sense,
Right.
but I'm thinking like the emotional effect it would have on me.
Hey,
If I-
Xander. Hey, bitch.
the emotional effect it would have on me if I saw red blood all the time. It would feel like a mess, and I think it would sink into you much more the carnage of it all if it was all red.
Maybe.
I thought you were dead.
It's kind of hammy as it at the moment is. I do like it because Xander is able to say, "Hey, your friend's back there, by the way."
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't want to, but he knows he has to. He's like,
of
she's
course
back
he's
there.
got to.
And
He ain't worried. He's already kicked Johnny's ass once. He thinks he's better looking, got a bigger dick. So, you know, he's not really concerned.
sure.
I don't think so, but in the dialogue,
I don't buy it.
He didn't say that Dizzy was dead, right?
No, he just said, she said, I thought you were dead. And he says, I'm not, but a lot of my troopers
Right.
are.
No, it would have been nice maybe in that moment if he had no, but Dizzy just died back there or something. Maybe something to hit her.
That would have been a good moment.
Yeah. Something to really
It's like,
hit
yeah,
her.
she's dead back. She just died in my arms back there, by the way.
Yeah.
It kind of broke my heart the way you broke my heart. Do you remember that? If he said that to her, like, if he had said those exact words to her.
Right.
Yeah, that would have been kind of like sticking it to her.
Uh-huh. Oh, that breaks my heart. Yeah, I know the feeling. And look, she's all smiles. Like she never, she knew Dizzy. I mean, they had a little bit of a contentious relationship, but I mean, she didn't hate her or nothing. I don't think.
As competing females.
Sure,
I think.
but I mean,
Yeah.
you know, just like when Doogie shows up shortly. It's like, I know they're trying to make him Mr. Hard, Cold, commander of sorts.
He looks like an SS officer.
Yeah, but Christ, he knew her,
Yeah, that's true.
Show that he still has some connections, because he does do what he does later.
Well, I mean, at that point, you're not supposed to care. I mean, in the Nazi ideal, you're not supposed to care.
But they all do. Every single one of them does. They all miss her. They all loved her.
Mm-hmm.
And especially given that, I mean, could the Nazi thing be any less obvious?
I love the fact that it's so overt.
Boy, is it.
Don't hide it at all. Just do it. Like, I think it's great.
Go for it.
Yeah. And they I don't know if it's an eye light or they added makeup to his eyes.
They make him look sunken in.
Like they highlighted his cheekbones.
No, you can see it. It's under his eye. Yeah, and they did. They made him look
gaunt.
Yeah. And aged a little bit. This is affecting him. Yeah, that's makeup.
Makeup and lighting. The lighting is coming. It's giving him a shadow.
No, I think that's makeup.
Okay.
I mean, look at that.
Okay.
And it's very intentional.
You don't approve. Well, too bad.
Like it would have been nice if right about here, Johnny said, we just metaphorically buried our friend. And he was friends with Dizzy, and he should have been.
He danced with her.
Yeah. He should have said, like, I know, but she's gone. We're here. We need to push on. I don't have time to sit and.
He should have just said something that was in that propaganda. Like, we have to keep the fight going. Just say that.
Sure,
like what the newsreels would say, but we have to keep the fight going.
Then, oh man, what symmetry. I like that. If he had pumped out something that we had seen earlier in the movie, some sort of propaganda line.
Yeah.
And for Johnny to then repeat the line that Ratchek said to him in the schoolroom. And he said, that's from the TV, because he called Johnny out and he goes, the exact words of the text.
Right.
But what does it mean?
Yeah.
And so he could have said, that's just like the propaganda we've been hearing. But what does it mean? What are you telling me right now? And force him.
Who would say that, Johnny?
Yeah, Johnny would say
okay.
it. So Johnny's becoming Ratchek.
Oh, okay.
And challenge Doogie to see through the rhetoric. Don't just pump the words at me. What are you saying?
Ooh, I like it. That's good.
I know
that's good. And that setup you would have forgotten about by that point, then hit hard again.
And then you remember
right
it if he said it close enough to what he said in the schoolroom.
Like, it's come full circle now.
And he could have said, the exact words of the things. But what does it mean? Do you believe it? Do you believe what you're telling me?
All Johnny had to say was the exact words of the text. But do you understand it? Do you believe it?
Yeah, just
and then have him say it
verbatim.
And you're like, okay, I guess this is where we are now.
Yeah. I think that would have been great.
No going back. They've crossed over.
But that would have been important because he would have hit him with, we just lost Dizzy, our friend, and then hit him again with a 2-shot saying, dude, I don't mind that you're saying this, but do you believe what you're saying? Mm-hmm. And challenge him so that in the next 10, 15 minutes, when things are going bad for Johnny and Johnny's looking for Carmen, he believes that, what the hell, Carl led him to her. Mm-hmm. Give us a reason to think that Carl has held on to some of that humanity.
Maybe.
And he hasn't gone full SS,
Mm-hmm. Would have been nice. Then again, maybe they did have something like that and it was cut. You never know.
Maybe.
Maybe one day we'll be able to dig up the screenplay and maybe find something in there that wasn't in the final cut.
I'd be very, very curious to see if that was the case.
And it gets bisected. That's kind of ballsy. Just blow the whole goddamn ship up. Mm-hmm. It's just, split it in half. This shot right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if I love the fact, like Star Trek, it's like naval. It has a feeling of being in the Navy. Mm-hmm. Like the ship, it feels like it's sinking. You know, that's what it feels like.
We're going down.
Like we're going down. And they're closing the
hatches.
The hatches, like water's rushing in. It feels like, and like literally the ship is sinking out of frame. So it looks like that, has that feeling to it.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Rough way to go.
That would hurt.
And they showed it. If you look real close, that door closed. I mean, she's in half.
She got cut in half. Well, I think it closed almost all the way.
Like an inch to the ground. I mean,
It pretty much bisected
it's like
her. Signs.
The
The door is keeping her alive
just for a minute.
For a moment. Yeah.
You know, she's done though.
I'll never be able to take Signs seriously now because of Scary Movie 3. Did you see that? Charlie Sheen, they did a bit about being cut in half. No? Okay. Never mind. People out there who've seen it, they know what I'm talking about.
Where were we again as far as your second act? Or are we at the end?
We're in the third act now.
We are in the third act.
The Dizzy's funeral starts the third act.
Oh, okay.
Proper.
Okay, gotcha.
I find it comical that they even have escape pods. You know, I don't imagine that they would at all have escape pods.
Because you go down with the ship.
You go down. You just go down with the ship. Yeah, that's just it. You're screwed. There's no lifeboats. I mean,
you want to live, you fight. There's no getting out.
Like only people like Zorg get away in Last Starfighter. It is mighty convenient, though, that these pods are two-seaters. You know what I mean? It's a little too much. So
I suppose.
I wish it was a little more dirty, like in the opening of Deep Space Nine, you know, where they're all crowding onto this ship and there's barely enough room. And they're like, okay, you ready to go? Let's go. Like, well, it's not
maybe,
neat.
and this is just extrapolation based on the world, maybe those pods were not intended for the crew like that. Maybe that was for the captain and a couple extra people and like the officers to get out. Everyone else is going down.
It's every man for himself at that point.
Well,
maybe.
like it's like those are the executive pods and that's it.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, maybe. Well, no. The captain did say abandoned ship. Abandon it to
did.
what?
That didn't look like enough pods for everyone.
Yeah.
You know when Ace and they looked up, you know, and they saw her pod coming in.
Yeah.
And because they heard just a second ago, the Roger Young is down, you know, whatever, something like that. How awesome, since we know that they're quote unquote sinking,
to see that
ship come into atmosphere and crash.
Just to see it burn up.
And then then from the sky of that, then her little pod comes down, you know. Awesome. Just like we talked about with Generations. It would have been cool if Picard had seen
the saucer
coming down and been like, oh shit. You know?
Yeah, moment lost, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What's your position and situation?
See, at this point in the story, the only thing we're waiting for is this brain bug at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough of a mystery, I don't think. I don't think they drilled it in enough. Like
no,
Rico had said, like, we're looking for a brain bug. It's some kind of smart bug. Like,
no, that's where that mystery at the beginning of that second act.
But I don't think they drilled it in enough to where, like, I mean, you know, Carl had done that. Like, oh yeah, this is simple numbers. They have more. You know, we're interested in the species. You know, we thought there might have been a brain bug there. Like, it's some, but not enough to really understand that maybe these bugs are smarter than they're letting on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this is a real danger. And we're kind of getting more or less the same kind of action that we've gotten in every other scene so far.
Exactly.
So it's by this point, it's starting to feel...
that's why...
It's dulling your senses a little bit.
I agree. I agree completely. This third act really slows for me because of that reason. I mean, the second act with the outpost already did it. And then here we are again, and it looks exactly the same. Mm-hmm. That's why maybe doing an aerial battle at that camp would have been something. Mm-hmm. And then when they got down here,
well, when they
got down here, you know what this could have been? Should have been. I mean, they kind of did it, but maybe do it more so. Is the ending of them? Remember there was tunnels, and I mean that's what they're in. They're in tunnels, but really make you shit. That's what this is missing. When they're out on the ground I feel like it's kind of equal footing, because they've got guns, there's more than them, it's like you can fight. But when they're in the tunnels, man, they're in their world, like when they're coming through these tunnels, this shouldn't just be a hole. It should be dripping shit, little bugs, everything. You should be in fucking hell, in here. This is all clean and carved out. You should feel like you're descending into a nightmare.
Yeah, which brings to mind something in my memory of like everything on these planets is just far too sterile looking, don't you think?
Well, on this, yeah.
Well, and every planet they've been to, it's
just dirt.
bare. It's just there's nothing there. Like it should have been a little more alien looking. I think you're right.
Oh, okay, yeah, in that sense, yeah. But I mean, we're where they live underground, so you should feel it. It should feel gross and nasty,
Yeah. Like when in Aliens.
Yeah, it was gross.
It was, but it felt alien. You're like,
sure
this
did.
is weird. Like,
I mean, those aliens turned that place into their home, and it didn't feel like their home anymore,
That's a serious offense. Yeah, I think they hang you for that.
I think they hang you for that.
I think they hang you for that.
I don't think he's joking.
He's not joking. That's
I don't
serious.
think that's a metaphor.
No, they would do that in the military, but it's
in this world.
especially in this fascist world. Yeah, if you go off mission, they hang you if you break orders. Yeah. I mean, you could see that in movies that were about Nazis that tried to break from the order. Like, did you ever get to see Valkyrie?
Yeah.
They just round up everybody and kill them. I mean, it's basically it.
No trial.
Nope. That's
we know what you
kangaroo
did.
trial. Just whatever.
It's a drumhead trial.
Yeah. See, there are the chariot bugs carrying, but it's not really.
I know if you hadn't said it, I wouldn't have paid any attention.
I'd seen this movie I don't know how many times before the director pointed out that the chariot bugs are carrying it. I'd never noticed. I wonder what the design of the brain bug. Why make it have like an orifice? Like it's make it look so gross. Like I guess to make it look more alien. I guess, but I kind of like the idea of this. It's the brain bug it's so fat. And it's all of its energy goes to thought. Like it can't move around anymore. It's just like this slug. I kind of like that idea. It's interesting as a concept, something being alien. I don't really get how sucking his brains out is supposed to help it process how it thinks, but
yeah, I mean they don't go into any of that.
No, but in this universe it makes sense. She really had no plan. I mean, she's just.
Oh no, she was totally screwed.
Yeah, if Johnny hadn't showed up, she would have been totally dead by this point. Because that little knife ain't stopping anything.
I mean, why are they stopping at all? Why aren't they killing
Johnny
her right now?
is right there.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I like this where he goes, you know what this is?
Sure you do.
Pantomime
Some kind of
will
smart
translate
bug.
everywhere.
Well, she's using that arm pretty well.
Yeah, she's got a huge hole
Gaping.
in the back of her arm, and she's using it just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, she's got her arm up around him. I'm like, oh my God. She would have bled to death already.
At least, in the beginning of the movie or in the middle, when Johnny is impaled in the leg, he's immediately out. He's like, oh God. he's not moving anywhere. But this, no, she can still fire.
You wouldn't be able to do anything. You'd be absolutely useless.
I guess it only matters for the plot. Like when Watkins gets swiped here, right here, he's out, and it's because his character is going to die.
Yeah.
So it's fine. He can, lay down on the ground and die. Maybe if they had made this mission a bit more like it's a covert mission, you know, like it's a matter of like sneaking, you know, not so much of just brute force like here.
Yeah.
It would have made this a little more interesting.
And they, at this point, they should be on the run. Like, get the fuck
absolutely.
out. They are
Absolutely.
so out, man.
Like when you think about like what Ripley had to do at the end of Aliens, it was just about getting out.
Yeah.
Like it was
Here now they're finally running.
Yeah.
You know, they this should have been just moving.
Yeah.
You know, like you're trapped. You're in this tunnel. Get out. You know.
Mm-hmm. And from the power we saw those nukes have, I don't think they would have survived this explosion, but it's a movie.
Yeah.
What do you think of the title, by the way? I think a lot of people give this movie flack for its
Starship Troopers.
B-movie sounding title. 'Cause it sounds kind of goofy, right? When you think about it too long.
I guess it does. I never really thought about it, honestly, though.
Oh, I mean, Starship by itself, Troopers by itself is fine, but when you put the two together, it starts to sound a little goofy.
Better than Bug Troopers or
a
something.
bug hunt.
Bug Hunt.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And the capture of the bug happens off screen. It's an interesting choice.
Yeah, it really was.
And to bring the character of Zim back. I mean, I'm fine to see Clancy Brown again, but interesting choice again. Like, very interesting though to not have them capture it. Why not have them captured at this point? Why have it happen off screen?
Because they're the grunts, and you know they're not going to get the credit.
But Johnny is our hero. We want him to succeed. So
but-
it seems like it would be, I don't know. We would want him to do it.
Oh, I mean, I get that. I think I like it though.
Oh, I do like it. It's
Yeah.
just an interesting choice. Like, you know, most people I think would have written into the story like,
Oh, for sure.
they just capture it right there.
Yeah.
I kind of like in the close-ups like how slimy and gross it looks.
Oh, yeah.
Like it actually looks like it's full of bug goop. Like the way it's breathing right now or thinking. Like it's kind of weird.
It's afraid!
It's afraid. Of course it's afraid.
Yeah, of course it is. But I'll never be able to think of like, because they're shooting their guns in the air. Like bullets come back down. So, shouldn't do that. I know they do it in movies, but see, they're back to the beginning of the movie when they were all walking away
We
with
said we'd be
smiles on
friends
their face.
forever.
But everyone they've known is dead, and the person that Johnny loved is dead. The person that Carmen loved is dead, and they're fine with it.
Yeah, they're okay.
If see, like right here, if there was just a glimmer of apprehension in his eyes right there, in Johnny's eyes, as he's being told this, like maybe this isn't good. Like maybe I'm fighting the wrong thing here. Like to give us a moment of hesitation, right? You don't think so?
Not here.
Why?
Well, I mean, I was talking about that earlier. I don't think Johnny is at all concerned with credit or any of that, or being I don't think he thinks of himself as a soldier of the state, you know, a weapon of the state. He's just a guy doing his job, you know. And so to have him to have him think that way is, I think, putting his character on a level that would make him not Johnny.
Well, what I am kind of proposing is
Stack Lumbuster.
Stack Lumbraiser. That's Amy Smart. But I think what I'm proposing is it actually is a change to his character. He would not be the Johnny we know anymore. He would be slightly different.
But he's not. He's become Ratchek.
At this point, he has.
And that is growth for him, because
It
he's
is, but-
choosing to be here as opposed to letting.
All I'm adding is just he has a little bit of doubt sprinkled in throughout the story. So we can see that brainwashing moment at the end.
But okay. The problem is, though, nothing in this movie is suggestive of the fact that the there's brainwashing going on. Like, this is just the world. Like, no one thinks anything of it. They don't think of themselves as fascists. No one calls them
I
fascists.
know they don't, but we know they are.
Yeah, but that's only we do. But no
Yes.
one else in their world calls them out for it. Like, this is okay. Like, they're all good with it. You know, none of them have any problem with their lives or anything like that.
But it is shown a little bit like from the perspective of the parents. They're saying, don't join the federal service. People get killed doing that.
But
Like,
that's only because it involves potential,
like getting maimed or something.
well, not even that, but just hardship. And they have enough money to not worry about it. But
I think it does give in our mind a certain doubt about serving the state, like what that can do.
I don't get that from this. I don't think that
Okay.
is the objection his parents have. I just think that they're trying to keep him safe, and that they're like, that's grunt work. The only people that become citizens
poor people.
poor people do that
Yeah.
because they don't have money to do what they really
To buy
want.
themselves out of the military.
Exactly.
No, I get that, but like I had said earlier, you know, like that moment in the classroom in the beginning, which shows Johnny as being unsure. Like, do you understand it? Do you believe it? Like, does he? Like, does he actually think like a good young fascist? You know,
I think he does now.
he does. But like you'd said, adding that moment at the end,
But
again,
I think
would have.
Ratchek was a good loyal fascist. He challenged the system.
I think the arc is there. I just think it just needs to be a little bit more present. That's all.
I think though that but you're asking him or suggesting that he at least in some subtle way recognized the fascist world around him. And I don't think that's at all what his character's interested in doing, nor do I think this movie is
I'm not
interested
saying
in
he
doing.
recognizes the fascist world. I'm just saying he just has a little doubt here and there.
But
That's
doubt
all.
about what?
A doubt about what he's doing. Just
He's they're at war. That's what he's doing. He's fighting.
because Johnny,
Now,
we become the protagonist, right? We become Johnny.
yeah.
So I'm just saying, and we don't live in a fascist society. So I'm just saying that if he just gives us that moment of doubt, it helps
maybe
us
that
along
maybe
the way.
maybe the moment you're looking for would have been when at the very end when the bug is captured and all that, and he said, you know, no one's going to remember you, no one's going to remember this, they're going to remember a sergeant named Zim captured a bug and
Right.
the war turned. Maybe the moment you're looking for is Johnny saying, you know, or maybe people could have been saying maybe this war could have been avoided if we never fucked with these fucking aliens that weren't bothering anyone until we started it. In other words, he'll still do his duty, he'll still fight, but just to recognize we did start this.
Uh-huh.
You know, because like they said, it's in the movie, you know, it says like everything was fine until we penetrated their space, or, you know, we started
Yeah.
the shit.
Right.
You know, he could have just said, you know, Dizzy, our friends would still be alive if we had just minded our own goddamn business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then leave Carl with a, oh yeah, good point. You know,
Okay, I think we're coming to the same conclusion that maybe a little bit of fine tuning and just a few little additions here and there would have helped their satire greatly. I think come to the same conclusion. Like it would have helped come to the same. I think we want to come to the same end here, but at the mechanics of going about it, I think we just have a slightly different mind of, and that's fine. But I did agree on that moment at the end when you said he repeats Ratchek's lines.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a great moment and a great callback. But if anybody out there has read the script, if they have it, like,
let us know.
let us know. Yeah, we'd love to see if there's maybe more in there. that
Paul,
we could-
if you're listening,
or Casper,
give us a call.
Dina Meyer.
Love to talk to you.
Love to
about
hear
it.
from you.
Love to hear from you.
All right, well, we're well into the credits at this point, and these credits are freaking long, so
All right.
we're not sitting for the whole credits. Go ahead, Justin. Closing thoughts.
Well, to mirror what I said at the beginning, I think this movie is much better and much deeper than it's given credit for. I do think it is, by most people, passed off as just a silly, goofy action sci-fi movie. But I do think it's quite a bit more than that. And I think it holds up on repeated viewings and has been copied many times because it got it right. And not just an action movie or a space movie or whatever. It it was a genuine, thoughtful attempt to say something, you know, and there is method and thought to the madness. And that's, you don't have to like it. You don't have to think it's Citizen Kane, but it's a movie that stands on its own. It is saying something, and it's got a lot of different plot elements going on there. There's a lot of movie here. And I think it's been copied and steps have been taken from it for good reason. So I think it's a good movie. I think it holds up, and I think it is deserving of more praise than it gets.
Well, I like that you brought up Citizen Kane in that intro to film class.
I was just going to say Citizen Kane.
In that intro to film class that I brought up earlier. In any film class, you're going to watch Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
So we watched it, and you talk about how great it is, and most modern audiences don't respond well to it usually. Mm-hmm. But they'll say it's boring, whatever. But it is technically very well done.
Sure.
But it was good. I did like it, but what I'm getting at is that's kind of like the norm of what people say you're supposed to love. Of like, this is a great film, but then you suggest write something about Paul Verhoeven, right? Because no one's going to do that, and people don't think of him like that. They just think like big dumb action movies. But when you give it a second thought, you're like, well, they're actually a lot smarter than you might think. There's actually a lot of intelligence that goes into making a movie like this. It's not told in the same style.
No.
So,
and the graphicness does,
yes,
perhaps steal most people away from it.
But that doesn't make its message any less relevant or interesting. And
I mean, RoboCop is an action movie and a very violent one,
right.
But it's about a man trying to hold on to his humanity.
Oh, definitely.
That's what it's about. Mm-hmm. You know, a lesser filmmaker or writer wouldn't have focused on that the way they did. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a man being turned into a machine, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, I was saying at one point you had gotten up, but I had said that Total Recall and RoboCop are they're much more cerebral than this movie is. Not to diminish this movie, but they are. But as I was saying, I think this movie has gotten the recognition it deserves at this point. I think people appreciate it for its satire now, much more than in the beginning. And I think it's about time that we get a proper sequel to this movie. I would love to see aged Dina Meyer, aged Johnny Rico.
She's dead.
Casper Van. What?
Dina Meyer.
What?
The character.
Oh, the character. Bring her back. Bring her back to life. Resuscitate her. It's
all right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
The future. Like,
they could have found her. She was frozen, and they realized they had, Carl saved her.
Give her a robot body or something.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
the future.
Yeah,
they got robot limbs, so let's bring her back. Like I think bringing those characters back as living in this fascist society to see where it's taken them, and just kind of ignore those other sequels they made. Sorry to say, 3 was okay, but I think ignoring that continuity would be beneficial. They did it. They've done it with like Halloween.
If they're gonna skip forward, then the war is over. Johnny's gone back to Earth, and he's a teacher.
And they find Dizzy. That's in the plot. They find her out floating in space, and they revive her. That would be so cool. Okay.
Oh Lord,
I'm gonna come up with too many good ideas. All right. Well, I think that's all I wanted to say. So, but yeah, I would be up for it totally to see a sequel now. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I think Paul Verhoeven should come out of kind of his semi-retirement and do it.
Yeah, just come back to he moved back to the Netherlands to make movies. Just come back here and make that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you made it this far, thanks a lot. If you want to contact us, you can email us at soullessminions@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Josh. So long.
I'm Justin. Bye.